Hey ya, this is Sydney with Let's Get Through It Astrology. I'm here to take you through the astrological weather day by day for a bit of play-by-play. My intention is to give you a little bit of a vibe check so that you can show up on planet Earth as your very best self. I'm recording this from beautiful and sunny Oakland, California, so note that all of the times mentioned in this podcast are in Pacific Standard Time, so you'll want to adjust for wherever you are in the world. Okay, let's get through it. Hey ya! I am going to talk about the days of February 18th to the 24th of 2026. That is Wednesday through Tuesday, because that's my recording schedule. That's what it allows for. And we don't have a lot of aspects this week, which I think is pretty fantastic, but we do have some really pivotal transits that pertain to all of us and is important, especially to the US's chart. Let's do some basic housekeeping. The moon is going to go from Pisces to Gemini during this period of time. It will be out of bounds on the 23rd and the 24th, so that's Monday and Tuesday of this week that I'm talking about. We are in the midst of eclipse season. Hooray. Fantastic. And I am also filming this on the day of the eclipse, so on the 17th, and it is a new moon lunar total eclipse in Aquarius at around 28 degrees. So if you haven't listened to the previous podcasts, just as a refresher, if you have anything in the fixed signs, so Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, around even 25 through the first degrees of the next signs, this eclipse might have something for you. This eclipse definitely has something for America, though, for sure. The eclipse itself is also ruled by Saturn in Aries, which is considered in its fall, and it's conjunct Neptune, which means that like the flavor of this eclipse really has the Saturn-Neptune conjunction like all up in it. The biggest transits of the week, we have the sun's ingress into Pisces, so it'll be happy birthday Pisces, and that will be for Wednesday. And that ingress into Pisces will be ruled by a retrograde Jupiter in Cancer. Still an exalted Jupiter nevertheless, but it might make for a maybe quieter ingress just because, or a more internal ingress, only because of the retrograde motion of Jupiter. We have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which was going to happen on the 20th, which is a Friday, and that's going to be at 0 degrees Aries. And this is probably one of the biggest transits of maybe even our lifetime. And that's a lot saying, especially if you are Gen X or millennial. We have been going through it. We have seen so many big transits, but this one is very, very big, very pivotal. The last time that Saturn and Neptune met in Aries was back in the 1860s. I believe it was 1862. And there was a lot of war stuff going on at that time. So we're going to keep our eyes on the skies and around us because that energy is definitely happening for sure. And Neptune and Saturn didn't meet 0 degrees Aries where it is meeting this week for about 6,000 years. It hasn't met in that degree for 6,000 years. So that's pivotal, historical. I'm sure that they will be writing about these times in history books. I can't even imagine what they're going to say besides it was a bonkers time. And I hope they use the word bonkers. This conjunction is going to be conjunct the US's chart at its IC, at the 4th house cusp, which is really about like homeland. It can be about agriculture. It's our roots, and also could be about the housing market. And I know that there's a lot going on with property and land and, the government trying to buy up certain pieces of land for reasons, horrible reasons. So no matter what, this conjunction is going to be absolutely shifting the nature of our home life, our foundational matters. Definitely, I believe the housing market and also agriculture itself. We will have Venus in Pisces trine retrograde Jupiter in Cancer at 15 degrees on Sunday, the 22nd. We're going to have Mars in Aquarius sextile Chiron in Aries at 23 degrees on Sunday, the 22nd. So that's, you know, a bigger day. We have some bigger conjunctions or bigger aspects, pardon. And we are in Mercury retrograde shadow. Mercury retrograde will begin on the 25th at 22 degrees Pisces. So we're already in Mercury in Pisces. The shadow began on the 12th. And we will also have the first quarter moon, and that will happen on Tuesday, February 24th, which is the last day that this podcast talks about. Let's see. I believe that's kind of all of the notes that I want to give for now. And let's just get into the day. All right, Wednesday, February 18th. Wednesday is Mercury's day. Mercury is in Pisces, the poet, right? And I think that if we take the time to engage with language and thought and processing in a more non-traditional, non-linear, poetic, artistic way, we will be doing Mercury in Pisces some justice. Mercury in Pisces is considered in its detriment and in its fall, so it's not necessarily comfortable there, where Mercury wants more like data points and sets and maybe a more linear path. It's not really getting that in this time. Nevertheless, we have to persist. We cannot go without thinking or speaking or computing, right? So we just need to maybe bring a more artistic flair in it so that we can be better. We are going to get the moon conjunct Venus, which is a really pleasant aspect. It is in the middle of the night, but I do think it is quite lovely. So hopefully the dreams will be of more of a loving nature, maybe a little bit softer, a little bit more flow. At 7:51 a.m., we are going to get the sun going into Pisces. Happy birthday, Pisces. The dreamer, all about imagination and illusion. It's a very porous and osmosis sort of sign. One that is very imaginative and able to absorb everything around it, right? Dreamy. Just such a dreamy sign. Can also deal with illusions and delusions, and also disillusionment. You know, Pisces is a sign that can say something about victimhood or martyrdom, you know, really sacrificing something for a bigger whole. And we have two really lovely aspects to wrap up our day, which will be the moon trine Jupiter, really allowing us to emotionally expand, maybe engaging with higher forms of thought or philosophies, maybe even wanting to escape a little. It's dreamy, certainly. It's in water signs, so there's an intuitive nature to this as well. I like this aspect for sitting down and meditating, to take some time to just sit inside of the dreamland, the emotional space, and feel, right? And that's going to happen around 10:30 a.m. And then we have the moon conjunct Mercury at 3:08 p.m. and it is the last aspect of the day. And so we have this ability to really speak about what we're feeling and our habits and our emotions. This day feels emotional. It feels in tune with our larger emotional nature. It's not unpleasant, but we also have to remember that we're in the middle of eclipse season. There's a lot of fated things happening. A lot of trajectories are being changed and shifted. So we have to remember that that is running in the background, and that we also have this Saturn-Neptune conjunction also running in the background too. But I believe that that has been running in the background for probably the last like 6 months or so. And definitely very poignant right now. Let's move forward. February 19th is Thursday. Thursday is Jupiter's day. Jupiter days are really good to engage in spiritual, high-minded pursuits. Education, philosophy, travel. There's a lot of Pisces energy in the sky, which is really nice. That is the sign that is ruled by Jupiter. we have a lot of emotion happening right now, overflowing emotion. We don't have a lot of Earth in the sky right now. In fact, the only Earth that we have is the South Node in Virgo and Uranus in Taurus, which adds a destabilizing effect to us. We don't really have the Earth beneath our feet right now. So that's a little unfortunate. The aspects for the day are pretty minimal. We do have the Sun sesqui-square Jupiter, which, it's both in water signs in the ways that we're feeling and trying to expand. We could be going too far. We could be feeling frustrated with not being able to go as far as we'd like. Moon sextile Uranus, we need to be emotionally adaptable, able to shift and change. We might change some sort of habit, but there's a nice way of being able to do that. There's an intuition also flowing here, which I like. We're going to get a vibe shift at 11:39 a.m. with the moon entering spicy Aries. And as soon as it enters Aries, it is going to make conjunctions with Saturn and Neptune. So Moon Saturn can bring the energy down a little bit, or the emotions into down, feeling a little bit morose, or I think angry even, because we have Saturn in Aries. This is all happening on the Aries point, right? So there's fated stuff here. There's world events that could be triggered here. And certainly we already have this conjunction between Saturn and Neptune here that's happening. But with the moon there, perhaps we become more emotionally aware, or intuitively even aware of what is happening around us. I think that there's a bit of dreaminess too, but because Saturn is there, and Saturn can be such a it really wants us to deal with reality. It can be a little bit of a Debbie Downer. It can make us feel a little bit low. It wants us to do the tasks that are at hand. It's kind of good news, bad news bears. I like the conjunction better than I like, the hard aspects like the square, the opposition. But we're dealing with reality, and reality slipping away, and new visions of our reality coming into focus at this time. And at the very end of the day, we're going to have the moon sextile Pluto, which is going to allow us to go deep into our intuitive nature, our emotion. We could be feeling particularly fired up, needing to get to the bottom of things, like how we're feeling about it. We need to know about it to get in there. But I think it's just going to add to the spiciness that is available for us to access on this day in particular. February 20th, Friday. Friday is Venus's day. We have Venus in Pisces. She loves being there. She is exalted there. She wants to connect with everything and everyone and feel intuitively into her love nature. We love Venus in Pisces. Venus days are really good for connection and to deal with things that you value and you think are artistic and beautiful. But the biggest player of this day is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. It's going to perfect at 8:54 a.m. at the 0 degrees Aries, 45 minutes. So 0 degrees, 45 minutes of Aries. This conjunction in the 0 degrees has not happened for 6,000 years. This is a really big deal for humanity. We are right now dealing with the structures, Saturn, and this illusion. These things are melding, meshing, conjoining in this way where I think it feels like the reality that we held to be true is now slipping away, and a new dream of our reality is maybe forming. We're having some sort of idea of what is coming. The Saturn-Neptune conjunctions, there's been a couple of really beautiful podcasts about what it is. It also makes real what we know about, cults and secret societies. We are obviously being made very aware of the societies that are running deep in the background that are creating the reality that we are all operating in. And now that it's all coming up, we are being forced to reckon with a reality that we did not know was real. We just thought they were conspiracy theories. We just thought that they were fantasies, tinfoil hat theories. And that's quite interesting, right? I think our idea of what was real is being corroded, and we are having and needing to replace it with something different, something new. There's there's so much that can be said about this, but I'm trying to keep this these days and podcasts short. But this conjunction is going to be felt through the rest of our time here on this earth, I believe. This is the starting point. This is a new beginning. This is a new dawn that has to do with illusions being made real, fantasy becoming real. We're dealing with this on so many different levels. It's really quite fascinating. So that's the large player, right? And the large player that is going to be working itself out for a number of years to the future. We won't know all of the ways that our reality has now shifted into a different place for quite a long time, but I think we're getting an idea now. And when Saturn gets away from Neptune in a few months, I think we're going to start to see what that vision is, and what the reality is that's actually taking hold. The last aspect of the day is Moon square Jupiter, which typically isn't super bad. However, it can definitely make us want to go over the top because the moon is in Aries. She's spicy, right? The moon in Aries reacts very instinctively, intuitively, just emotionally has the feeling, and then it deals with the repercussions later, right? Acts fast. It's just very spicy. And so with that square to Jupiter, there's a little bit of reception there. It feels indulgent. It feels indulging upon our spicy feelings, and we need to be careful to not go too far with them, because whenever we go too far and we don't take into the concrete reality of what that reaction is, we can set and reverberate off in ways that we didn't necessarily intend to. So be cautious of overreacting on this day. There's a lot of energy in the sky. A lot of things are happening. We are in the middle of a great, huge change in our world, all of our worlds, wherever we are. If you have planets at that 0 degrees of the cardinal signs, 0 to 3, your chart is being lit up by this Saturn-Neptune conjunction. There is a new beginning, or an awareness of a new beginning, or a new beginning kind of being forced upon you that you have to deal with and grapple with. We need to remember to slow down before we are reacting to things. February 21st is Saturday. Saturday is Saturn's day, and we have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction still very partile, pretty much perfect in the sky. I'm so interested to see, especially as Saturn is still in the 0 degrees with Neptune, the world events that will be coming up. But on a interpersonal and personal level, Saturn days are good for just taking care of the business that is in front of you. Clean the gutters, clean your house, do your accounting, all of those things. This day in particular, in terms of getting things done, I do think that there's a little bit of flow. We have some energy. We definitely have an energetic aspect at 3:11 a.m. with the moon sextile Mars, and it's like, get out there and do it. It's very early in the morning, unfortunately, but some people could be very awake at 3:11 a.m. on a Saturday. So I wouldn't be surprised if our various neighborhoods are a little bit more active, for sure. Sensitivity occurs around 4:44 a.m. Moon conjunct Chiron. Fired up about what we're feeling, maybe feeling it's definitely sensitive. And also there's an intuitive nature to this. Maybe there is a empathy that we are offering ourselves around the wounds that we're carrying, because we all carry wounds, right? At 3:30 p.m., we are going to get the moon's ingress into Taurus, and the moon loves being in Taurus. It is cozy there. It feels comfortable. It's really concerned with security, feeling safe, feeling warm, feeling cared for. There is a, eating the warm soups, having the chocolate, warm blankets. We're still in the middle of winter, so get cozy with it. 9:40 p.m. And one of the last aspects of the day is the moon sextile the sun, which is more or less a feel-good aspect. I think it just brings a sense of comfort. But I think that sense of comfort is only temporary, because we will have at 10:56 p.m. the moon square Pluto, which, Pluto wants us to give up something about our sense of security that we hold on so tightly to with the moon in Taurus. And I think it's almost an encouragement to understand on a deeper level what creature comforts we need to give up in order for us to be a better part of the whole and to be in more power to the people mode, right? There's a very different vibe between Taurus and Aquarius as signs, Taurus is like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to stay and do what I want. I just want to be comfortable and secure in myself. It's very solitary, solo sign, and Aquarius is about the people. And we do not get to be collectively comfortable when everybody is only focused on their own individual comfort. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, especially as Pluto goes through Aquarius. And whenever we have the moon in Taurus, I think there is a reminder that all of the things that we're holding on to, something can be given up so that we can be a greater part of the whole. Moving into Sunday, February 22nd. Sunday is the sun's day. We have the sun in Pisces, creative, imaginative, artistic, flowing, intuitive, spiritual, sometimes a little bit delusional. Pisces. The sun is getting closer to the North Node, which can have the effect of making the Piscean nature a little bit bigger, more intense. But I think it just brings this overwhelming flow that is going to be growing as the sun gets closer to the North Node in Pisces. We have a lot of Pisces energy as well in the sky. We have the sun, the North Node, Venus and Mercury. They're all in a sign based trine to Jupiter, which is also amplifying and giving this more aspect, this flowing of intuition and feeling and maybe even psychic energy. So on the sun day and the sun's day, be with people, be social, engage in creativity, especially. We really like that for a sun's day. This day, we do have these flowing aspects. In terms of all of the aspects for the week, I think this is the day. Go get things done, be with people, be social, try to enjoy, try to experience pleasure in a world that is not necessarily allowing for that to happen organically for everyone everywhere. But because of all of this flowing energy, I think we really just need to get into our feeling nature, especially on this day. So all of the ways that you engage with creativity and being creative, being human is inherently creative. You cook and that is creative. You write and that is creative. You play your guitar, you sing and that's creative. Just focus on the creativity that the day can hold for you. At 8:13 a.m., we're going to have Mars sextile Chiron. And I think there's just wanting to do something about your core wound, about the sensitivity that you're feeling. You're like, you know what? I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to work on actually working through it. And it could also be taking some action that is based off of pain or a wound that you have. And so, it could go either way, but engage with your wounds in a constructive way where you go, okay, I'm going to do this art project that's going to help me work some stuff out. That's kind of where I would encourage you to take it, especially with how much Pisces energy is in the sky. The biggest aspect of the day is Venus trine Jupiter, which is just so pleasant. It can be a bit gluttonous, but social and generous and spendy. So if you want to spend some money, that's definitely the day. If you want to eat all of the sweet treats and, share food with friends and, all of that, Venus trine Jupiter is a great day to utilize that and hopefully have it feel really, really pleasant. There is the opportunity to do too much. It can be like a running circuit, this trine, right? So it's like you get a car and you get a car and you get a car. So if you do not have a lot of money in your bank account, let's try to knock it back a little bit. But pleasant feelings can persist because we'll have the moon sextile Jupiter and the moon sextile Venus. This day is really trying to offer us a feel-good day. So if you can access that space, just stay there. Try to stay there. We need a little bit of rest and respite and to create and to feel connected. Do all you can to feel connected on this day. Monday, February 23rd is the moon's day. We have the moon still in Taurus. It is going to enter Gemini on this day. So we'll get a vibe shift later on in the evening. But, moon days can be very active because the moon is so fast. It like goes from here to here, it just like is moving forward, just pinging everything. And we do have a very spicy, emotionally spicy aspect happening with the moon square Mars, 9:19 a.m. This is the moon squaring Mars in Aquarius. To me, it says I'm being pushed to make some sort of emotional shift here or change or to react. And I don't want to, but I have to. It can feel active, but it can also feel pretty angry. And with fixed moons, you want to do what you want to do, right? Mars in Aquarius can be a little erratic. It moves a little bit differently than all the other Mars signs. And so there could be some instability feeling with this aspect in particular. And that is going to be further punctuated by the moon conjunct Uranus at 2:28 p.m. And the moon conjunct Uranus we just need to be emotionally fluid, just going with the flow, right? This could bring some intuition, some shock, some change. Maybe we go through an emotional shift at this time. It feels like things are shifting fast. There's a quickening happening, and then we get into 6:28 p.m. We have the moon's ingress into Gemini, which is definitely a faster moving moon. It needs data, it needs information, it needs to know things, whether they're true or not. So we engage with curiosity when the moon is in Gemini. It likes to externally process its emotions, right? It likes to name things instead of feel things. And so maybe and hopefully, as you had possibly a spicier day earlier in the day, now you can name it. This is why I feel the way that I feel, or this is what I'm experiencing. I want to talk about it. We're going to have the moon sextile Neptune and Saturn, and that is going to happen at 7:57 p.m. and 8:26 p.m. There is a nice aspect with the moon sextile Saturn is like, I'm just going to do the work that I need to do. This is what I have, and I'm going to work on it. The moon sextile Neptune, it can be dreamy and creative. And so with the sextile between the two planets, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, maybe we're just working for creating a new sense of reality based off the dreams that we have envisioned for ourselves. We're working on the projects that set us up for, whatever future that we have dreamt up for ourselves. Tuesday, February 24th, is Mars's day. We have Mars in the last degrees of Aquarius. Mars, the planet of action and will and aggression, of fighting, of passion, anger, cutting, is in a more cerebral and also erratic sign. Mars in Aquarius moves a little bit differently. It takes action in a bit of a different way, and it also deals with extremes. So it's getting closer to the eclipse degree that we just had the eclipse on the 17th, so there could be some energy popping off that eclipse. We are in eclipse season. I think that as Mars enters this degree and for the next few days, there are some potentials for violence that will be happening, and we're just going to have to watch that play out. The two aspects of the day are the moon trine Pluto, so emotionally very able to get to the bottom of things, feels investigative, it feels very curious. The moon is in an air sign and Pluto is also in an air sign. And so, even though there's a passionate energy whenever we have, or an intense energy, I'd say that's probably the better word, when we have this intense energy of the moon being in contact with Pluto, there's still this regenerative and transformative nature that our emotions can take. And especially because we have the ability to get to the bottom of things. At 4:27 a.m., it's the last aspect of the day, which is interesting. We're going to be hanging out with the first quarter square of the moon to the sun. And this is mutable. It's a mutable square. So that reminds us automatically with the mutability to go with the flow. I think there's ideas of coming up around what we need to do to go forward, the ways that we need to shift and change. And now we are in this awareness, this crisis of awareness around how we need to go forward. So be willing to be flexible and shift. We are also midway between the eclipse that happened on the 17th and the full moon eclipse that is going to happen on the 3rd of March. So if we're feeling a bit out of sorts, right? We're feeling uncomfy, we're feeling intensely, we're just going to let the ideas flow around us and be aware of them and just let that play out. I don't think that this day in particular is a good day for taking any sort of definitive action. Instead, it is about flow. It is about being adaptable and being willing to change. Okay, so that is the week. This is a little bit shorter of a recording, which is good. I'm trying, y'all. And I think that if, as a reminder, the 22nd really feels like the best day, we need to remember that Saturn-Neptune conjunction is really, really influencing the rest of all of our lives. Figure out where Saturn and Neptune are having this conjunction at 0 Aries, at the Aries point in your chart, so that you know where this whole new reality is happening, this new vision, this new dream, this dream turning into a reality. This place is happening for you. It could be potentially hot, right? The Aries energy. All right. I hope you're all well. I hope that this eclipse season is treating you well. Remember that everything changes. There is a reason for every season. And just keep your wits about you. Okay. Take care of everybody. Hey, thank you for listening to today's Astro Weather with me. I'm Sydney. As a reminder, I'm always open to seeing both new and my beloved returning clients. My website is ddastrology.com. That is D as in dog, astrology.com to check me out, and just click the email buttons in order to schedule with me. If you're into a more conversational feel with your podcast and content, I have a podcast called BS Astrology with my fellow Mercurial Mommy Bender, and we put out episodes every Sunday for the week. Just search BS Astrology on YouTube or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts, including Spotify, Audible, and more. Have a good day.